Hey, this is Gary with Today for Tomorrow, and I'm back on the Hillsborough River, separating Deerfield Beach from Boca Raton, Florida, and I'm doing another cleanup of the natural shoreline along this stretch of the inland waterway system. Now, one of the beautiful things about this stretch is we do have natural shoreline, but unfortunately that natural shoreline is just great at grabbing all the floating plastic debris. So I'm here today with my paddleboard to pull it all out. And if you've seen my earlier video where I got a trash can out of just 30 feet of shoreline, today's the same thing, except I'm going to do about 700 feet of shoreline, and let's see what I can get. So, first steps up the beach here, and this is pretty typical. You get up to the high tide line, and that's where you see the majority of the trash. It floats in there, and it has a hard time floating back out. So the goal today is to get all the stuff that I can out of here. Well, what a surprise. You know, I've been doing this probably 5 or 6 times now, but I never realized that the tide is actually getting up over the berm. So what I mean by that is I went up to the high tide line and I noticed some bottles further up on the mound here, and I got up here and oh my gosh, probably 100 square feet area, 10 by 10, and look at what I found. Now this wasn't all right here. I've gathered it and put it here because I'm going to take it on out to the paddleboard. But I didn't even, that was from this area right here. I didn't even go over the berm, so I can only imagine what's on the backside. I've got a lot of work ahead of me. Whew. Well, 10 minutes in the bush, and I mean really deep down in the bush there, and I got probably, well, you can see it here, and 3/4 of a trash can. Solid 3/4 of a trash can. So that shows me that I've got to really look deep in here, get in deep where I can, because at the real high tides, this stuff's really getting up there. You know, as I'm back here in the bush, I always find some pretty cool stuff, and one of the things I'm seeing right now here is coconuts that have floated up and started to sprout. I'll show them to you. So there's one right there that's well on its way to being a palm tree. Another one by it that's a little bit ahead of it. And down in here is even another one. I've got to show you. I don't know how well this is going to show up on camera, but I found looks like a Canadian goose decoy floated up in here. So, Canadian goose. Who would have thought a Canadian goose in Florida in the summertime? Found this guy stuffed way up at the high tide line. And people use these things to suspend sprinkler pipes if they're pumping water out of a canal system further up the river. I guess one broke free and floated down here. So I'm getting it out of here. I think this tells an interesting story. Here's what appears to be an Australian pine, an exotic tree, that was blown over in a storm probably. And you can see all this beautiful root structure here. And as you look inside, even when this thing was upright, way down deep in its roots, there's just bits of flip-flop or whatever, I don't know, who knows, just plastic strapping, nylon rope, some sort of little clear, I guess it's a light bulb, plastic bags. I mean, just even below the roots, trash. Here's another moment that really exemplifies why we need to do this. I'm up here at the high tide line, and I found a land crab burrow, and I want to show you what his home looks like. A veritable junkyard. Well, I never get surprised by what I find out here, because you never know what you're going to find out here. But today, I found some pretty weird stuff. I'm going to show you right now. I think today's weirdest. So, some of you might recognize that as a deer skull. Obviously there's no deer here in Boca Raton, Florida. And then right next to it, I didn't find that right next to it. The deer skull is where I found it. Right next to it is a, looks like a football place kicker's tool. So, the deer skull, clearly somebody threw in here, probably to let the crabs and fish chew some meat off of it, as in, like in a taxidermy sense. But the football place kicker's aid, if I'm calling that the right thing, I have no clue. But clearly it floats. Now, I'm about packing it in for the day, because as you can see here, I've got just a paddleboard full of stuff. I'm down to my last trash bag. I was talking pretty tough about doing 500 to 700 feet of shoreline, but you can see down here where the floating dock is, that's where I started. So I'd say this is a whopping 200 feet of shoreline. And with that 330 gallon or 45 gallon, whatever they are, contractor's bags, and a whole bunch of big, just bulk rubbish in about an hour, hour and a half time. Well, just when I thought I'd found the craziest thing, I found a drone. Somebody's missing that, I'm sure. So, once again, you never know what you're going to find. I wonder if this thing still works. Okay, well, I'm across the river on the Boca Raton side now, because this gives you a better perspective of the area I just covered. I'm going to turn the camera around. And from the boat dock down there to this little beach right here is the area I covered. Probably about an hour and a half, and roughly 130 to 150 gallons of debris. I don't bother weighing it because A, plastic doesn't weigh much, and B, you can find one heavy thing that's waterlogged that weighs a ton and it doesn't give you a good sense of what's in there. So I prefer to just fill up these contractor's bags and then give you gallons. Either way you slice it, that is a tremendous amount of trash and a small amount of space. So it just goes to show how much we need to do to clean this area up. Okay, well, back here at home, I've got all this debris laid out in the driveway, and I've grouped it into categories. I'll turn the camera around here and you'll be able to see what's what, and the majority of it, no surprise there, is plastic bottles. So you'll recognize the big odds and ends, the chair, part of what looks like maybe a patio umbrella set, milk crate, and I think a garden hose reel. And then of course the drone and a bunch of balls, little place kicker, assist thing for field goals, and what I didn't realize I had was a headlamp. But then back here you'll see just a bunch of styrofoam, a bunch of plastic bottles, foam again in the flip-flops, the shoes, one hat, and then just your odd It looks like a Mylar balloon and just plastic pool toys and just general plastic packaging. So the good news is all of that is out of the waterway, and most of this plastic can be recycled, which is what I'm about to do. Well, that was a ton of trash, and isn't it nice to know that it's no longer over there in that beautiful shoreline? I hope you take away from this video that just one person in a short amount of time really can have an impact on the health of our planet. And hey, wouldn't it be a cool thing to do if you have kids, to take them somewhere like this and tell them it's a scavenger hunt and just share a morning or an afternoon outdoors with them and really make an impact? Remember, the little things we all do in our daily lives today make such a huge difference cumulatively in all of our tomorrows. Please check out the website todayfortomorrow.org and check out opportunities to volunteer with me if you're in the South Florida area. And if you don't live here, don't worry about it. You can do these things in your own backyard at your leisure. Remember, every little bit helps. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.